Hey there, welcome back. This is Jeremy Kasten with Kasten Racing on behalf of Source Speedbull USA. So this is going to be part one of two in a series of building differentials. So the two parts are too long to put into one video. I think it's important for me to talk about why we're doing certain things instead of just showing you what to do. So there is going to be a little bit of you having to listen to me, unfortunately. But I do appreciate you tuning in to the channel, and stand by. The first video is going to cover how to set up your diffs, how to get the how to get the diff cup and the get the spacing right, how to get everything prepared, and then part two will be assembling the diff, and that one will be actually building the diff, greasing everything, and putting the fluid in it. So stand by for me to get my stuff ready, and we will put together a diff, and we'll do part one for you. All right, thanks, bye. All right, so here we are. We're going to go ahead and assemble the diff. I got everything broken out of the bags and laid out here for us. So got a brand new diff cup. So this has never been assembled. It's never been, it just came out of the plastic. So one of the things that I like to do is sand this surface down just to make sure that it is flat and true. It helps to obviously make a good seal, make sure that there isn't high spots where the gasket doesn't seal and cause your diff fluid to boil out or leak out, seep out. So I'm just taking a silver Sharpie here, and I am going to use a nifty tool from 4 or 5 years ago. I picked up from my buddy Chris Schaefer at LFR, Lead Finger Racing. It was intended for 10 scale cars for sanding the 10 scale diff rings. But so what I'm going to do is I use this. It works really well for having a hard flat surface to sand this this mating surface of the diff cup. So if you have any kind of flat surface, a piece of glass, a setup board, a piece of chalkboard, whatever you have that is flat and true in some fairly fine grit sandpaper, you don't want to go too coarse with it because then you're going to cause little channels in the plastic. But just give it some circles, some figure eights, whatever. Normally this tool is awesome because it's so small and portable. It even has a little carrying case that it came in, so it doesn't take up hardly any room, and you can use it anywhere. You don't have to bring anything with you. You can use it at the track or whatnot. So even though I can't make really big figure eights and really big circles, it still gets the job done, and it works well for me. So that's what I use. I wish I could tell you where to get one, but I don't know where Chris got these from at LFR. I don't know where he was getting them from, but he doesn't sell them anymore. But as you sand around, you'll see where the Sharpie rubs off. Those are the higher spots. Where the Sharpie's not rubbing off, those are the lower spots. And you just keep going around until you get all the lower spots sanded. Okay, so we have just a touch of silver still on there, right around the bolt holes, which those are going to pull up tight. So I'm not too worried about those areas. In between, I'm more worried about some of them take a little bit longer to get smooth like this. If you don't have the time, you don't have the time, and it's not going to mean that your diffs won't seal. That's why they make gaskets. One other thing I'm going to do is drill a hole all the way through the bolt holes, a small drill, just to release any any diff fluid that might get in the bolt holes while you're assembling the diff. So when you put the bolts in there, they don't hydrolock. So I'm just, this is a really small drill bit. I don't even remember what size it is, but it does not touch the threads by any means. I'm just simply going to drill out the back side. If any fluid were to get into that hole, it would be able to be pushed out the back. If you know, if you have to understand that tube is where the bolt's going to go in, the bolt's going to take up most of the space inside that tube. If there's diff fluid in there, then you're going to have the bolt trying to compress the diff fluid, and it's not going to, you know, it just doesn't work. So, cause of relief, let the diff fluid drop out the bottom. Again, I don't do this if I'm building the diff at the track. But if I'm rebuilding a diff at home, or if I'm building one for the first time at home, I'll take the time. And now I have holes coming out the backside that the diff fluid will run out of. Can you guys hear the dog? I got my dog out here in the garage. He's tired. I don't know if you can hear him or not. He's over there sighing and yawning and a little bit of whining. He's tired. All right, guys, what do you think? Should we just take everything off of the rag so we can clean the rag? Okay, so there goes my OCD flaring up. But whatever. I'd rather have a clean rag than all the parts organized forever. All right, so now what we're going to do is we're going to put the diff together and check to see how much play there is in the internal gears, and we're going to put it together dry to do that, so we don't have any of the diff fluid in between the gears to cause them to feel like they might be tighter. So I'm just gonna quickly dry assemble this. I'm not even gonna put the bearings on. I'm just gonna, I'm not gonna use the O-rings. When you're checking your diff for internal play, there's going to be, you're going to want to have some internal play in the gears when you put everything together and on both sides, but you don't want it to be sloppy. If you can rotate the outdrives back and forth like a quarter of a turn or so, and the internal gears are kind of clunk, then there's a lot of movement going on inside of that diff cup. A lot of torque on these cross pins. And one of the main reasons for having to replace your diff cups occasionally is that the slots, the grooves in the diff cup that your cross pins go in, the grooves, the squarish grooves on the sides there, they will start to get, the cross pin will dig into them. They will actually start to twist into that groove and cause a you know, a nice round wear spot. So in a sense, the cross pin is actually rotating in to the plastic, and that's because there's torque releasing and then torque against those cross pins, and it's back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. So too much is too much, and they are metal. these gears. They will wear. You do see how your oil comes out of a diff. A lot of that is obviously the first time you run a new diff. You're gonna want to change that diff fluid out pretty dang quick. Like if you get a whole race day on it, just normal club race, that's enough for a first diff. If you have time between practice and qualifiers, or after qualifiers and before the main, on a normal club race, to just freshen up that first amount of diff fluid, then it is well worth your time to do so, because it's going to be full of metal contaminants. I'm looking for this thing that's right in front of my face. So spur gear, again, I'm not putting the O-rings and bearings and stuff on. We're just going to go ahead and build this dry. I personally start out with all the shims. And this is pretty much the same way I build it when it has fluid in it, except it doesn't have fluid in it. And since this is a new diff cup, make sure you get your screws started straight. What do you think? Does that first one look straight? Not to me. Let's reposition this guy. One more bolt. I pushed off the rag. Ready to go. For demonstration purposes only, I will reach over into my stash and grab a bolt that will work. It's not a sore lightweight bolt, but it will work. I'm just going to snug these down to be close, and then I will finish them with my hand wrench. Okay, so everything's nice and free, and if you turn one out drive and hold the other and the spur gear or the pinion gear, which basically you're holding the diff cup, right? So you're able to feel the amount of internal play between your big and small gears, your moon gears and sun gears, your internal gears, whatever you choose to call them. Feeling the amount of free play or tick or what you want to have in these internal gears is, with a brand new diff, even I have all the shims in there and there's still play. Okay, so it's not too tight to run all the shims, but if you did get it to where it doesn't spin free, some diffs may be different. If you had to sand your diff cup down a couple times, especially after you run these diffs for a while and rebuild them and take these diff screws in and out of the diff cup, if you resurface the diff cup, you're going to take up some of the space inside the cup. It's only natural, right? So you may find that you have to remove a shim, but this one I don't think so. Even though it's brand new and it's not worn in yet. If I were to take shims out of here, I wouldn't be comfortable with the amount of play back and forth. You know, if you can see this out drive here, if you can see what I'm doing here, I'm holding the diff cup with the spur gear. I'm holding the other out drive, and I'm able to rotate the out drive. That's the play in the internal gears, and I'm happy with that. All right, guys, so that was fun. We got our diff cup prepared. We got our dry assembly put together, and tested the gear mesh on the inside of the diff. So now that we have that done, we can go ahead and put fluid in it, get everything lubed up right, and put it back together and get it ready to put on the car. But I do appreciate you tuning in to part one. If you're so inclined, if you like the video, somewhere up in here, you should be able to click and subscribe and check out the videos over here. And part two will be linked up there for you somewhere. So go ahead and check that out. But we appreciate you tuning in to Kasten Racing. And on behalf of Soar Speedbowl USA, we look forward to seeing you sometime soon. And until then, soar on.